Hi everyone, in this video we are going to discuss how to create a .NET 8 authentication with identity framework in Web API using the bureau tokens and cookies. So let's first understand what is the identity framework in .NET Core. So .NET Core Identity is a membership system that adds login functionality to our application. It provides a framework to handle the user authentication, authorizations, password hashing, user roles, etc. The new identity endpoints introduced in .NET 8 are designed to make it easier to integrate in ASP.NET Core Identity into API server applications. So let's create a .NET Core Web API and we'll implement the identity framework and see that how the authentication mechanism is work. So here I have created ASP.NET Core Web API and the project name I have selected as authidentity.api and click on next. So here the framework is .NET 8.0 and in authentication type, if you click here, so you can see that there is a Microsoft Identity Platform is there and Windows is there, but we don't select of anything from here. We will add into our project. So let it be as none and click on create. So you can see that now the API project has been created. So let's run it and see that what it come into the Swagger. So now you can see that in the Swagger, so we have only the default controller is weather forecast. So it is here, and if you can run it, and we can see the expected output on this API. So let's add the identity framework in this application and see that how it works. So first we need to add the ASP.NET Core identity package from NuGet. So right click on the project and click on the manage NuGet packages. Come to browse. So here the Microsoft.ASP.NET Core identity framework code. So let's click here and install it. So you can see this has been installed. If we go for the packages, we have added the entity framework core, as well as we need the other two packages to run the entity framework core into the SQL Server database. So we need to have like entity framework core.design. So let's search here as design. And install it. And other package we need as entity framework core.SQL Server. Let's install it. So in this example, we are concentrating to add the entity framework core into the SQL Server database. If you are using the other database, then you should need to add the package accordingly. So the three required packages has been added into our project. Then the next step is that we need to have create a data context class, and also like we need to have add the connection string to connect to the database, and then we need to add the identity framework in the program.cs file to run the identity. So let's first we need to have create a data context class. So to do that, let's create a folder name as data. So inside this data folder, I added a data context class. And this data context class is inherit from the identity DB context interface. So let's add it. So this identity DB context is represent the DB context for identity, and it has the definition for all the tables required to enable ASP.NET Core identity. Then on the next step, let's add the connection string into the offsetting.json. Here is the connection string, and this is my data source, and the initial catalog is identity of DB. I want the database should be created from this name. So this is done. Then next step is go to the program.cs file, and here we need to add the connection string details to retrieve, and also we need to add the identity authorization service and also the middleware. So first let's add the connection string details. Builder.services dot add db context. Then the db context that I've named as data context. Then options, such that options dot use SQL Server. Then we need to read the connection string. To read that, builder dot configuration dot connection string. Then here the connection string is constr. Then the next step, let's add the authorizations. Builder dot services dot add authorization. Then the next and main step is we need to add the identity mechanism. So let's builder dot services dot add identity API endpoints. Though you want the user should be authenticated, so you need to add that identity user. Then add entity framework stores. Then data context. So instead of the data context, you can name it as like application DB context or auth context according to your choice. So let's save it. So let's add the middleware here. app.map identity API, then identity user. So now the basic structure of the identity mechanism has been configured. So let's run the entity framework core and build the migrations and add into the database and see that how it works. To run the entity framework migrations and update to the database, go to the tools and come to the NuGet package manager and click on the package manager console. Here you can see that the package manager console is ready. And just keep in mind that if in a solution if you have the multiple project, then you should have choose the default project where you want to run the entity framework core migrations. So let's add the entity framework migration first, then we need to have update into the database if that is success. So let's put the command .NET ef migrations add then initial. So initial I have put as a message, so you may choose differently if you want, and hit enter. So on the migration it is showing issue as no project was found. Change the current working directory or use the project option. So to resolve it, just type a cd, then just set the project name. Now it's fine. Then we run the migration again and see that how it works. So now we can see that the previous issue has been gone and it working perfectly, and the build is started. And since the migration is running, so you can see that there is no migrations folder is here on our project. And once this migration will be success, so you can see that one folder will come here, and inside that all the migration related data will be present here. So you can see that the build is started, but the build is failed and some build issues are there. So entity framework core is not found, so that causing the issue. So let's flip to NuGet package, and here let's search as entity framework core and let's install it. So that is done, and go to the program file again and see that if it is resolved or not. Let's clean it and again rebuild. So you can see that the rebuild is succeeded. Firstly, we missed that the entity framework code add into the NuGet package. So keep in mind to add that before you have come into this point. So let's run this migration again. So now you can see that the migration has been created, but we see one warning here, like the tools version is older than runtime 8.0.8. So let's first fix it. Otherwise it will cause the issue while update the migrations, right? So let's run this command to fix it. .NET tool update global.NET EF. So the update the EF tool in globally. So now you can see that we don't see that the earlier message, and we have put as a migration as initial one because of the initial has been already dated before, and we have created as a initial one. Update the database command, so it will pick the both of the migrations into the DB. So if you open this migrations of initial.cs, so you can see that what the table is there, like the ASP.NET roles and other table schemas. All the schemas are here, and also in the snapshot, so all the related data types and everything is there. So when you refresh the database, so you can see that there is no user defined database here. So let's put the update command here. So this is the command .NET EF database update. Let's hit enter. Once it runs successfully, then we'll see that the database is identity auth DB will be created into the SQL Server database. So you can see that whenever we run our database update command, we'll see that another error like the system.globalization.culture not found exception. So only the invariant culture is supported in globalization. So let's first fix it, and then we'll run the update command again, and right click it and go for the edit project file. And here you can say that the invariant globalization is true, so just make it as false. Save it. And run the update command is again. So now you can see that all the migration related and the update command is success. So let's move to the database and let's refresh it. So now you can see that the identity auth DB database has been created here, and if you go into the tables, and you will see that all the related ASP.NET Core identity tables has been created. So here you can see that the ASP.NET roles, ASP.NET users, tokens, user logins, and here the EF migration history that we have created 2 migrations, right? So that also is come here. So here you can see that the EF migration history. So we have created 2 migration. One is initial and initial-1. So the both are has been come into here. Move to the Visual Studio and run the applications, and in the Swagger we can see that all the related identity provider functionality has been created. So let's run the project. So you can see that the auth identity.api has been created. Earlier it was only for the controller weather forecast, so it is coming here. And all the default mechanism of the auth identity API, like the register login, we can use the forgot password and two-factor authentication, etc. But in this demo we are only using the login, and we'll register it, and we'll see that how it works. And in the upcoming video we'll see that in details that how everything is work and how we can test it in Postman, as well as we'll create a Angular applications, and we'll see that how it will work. So let's first register user and see that how it work. And let's click on the tryout, and here is the email and is the password. So if we can put the same thing, and if I want change anything, and if I can execute, then we'll expect some response. So let's see it. So here you can see that the status is 400, and it is showing as email string is invalid. So it is inbuilt, all the validations has been handled by the identity framework, so we don't have a caret. So let's put a perfect email format and see that how it work. If for the password, if it is asking the means have a valid password or format or not. So let's click on execute, and it is also showing for the password that the one or more validations error occurred. The password must have at least one non-alphabetic character, and password must have at least one digit, and password have at least one uppercase. So like that. So let's create a proper password here, and we'll move ahead. Let's type here as JT@123 has. Okay, so let's click on execute. So here you can see that the status code is 200. If you go for the database, and you can verify here like if the users has been created or not, and click on select. So now you can see that the user has been created, and with the password should be on the hash format. And let's go to the login and see that how it work. Try it out. And currently I don't have want to use the cookies. On later part of video we'll see that how it work. So let's put as email and if you go for the password, let's I'm putting the incorrect email jayant1@gmail.com, and let's see whether it is validating to the login or not. So let's execute it. Now you can see that it is showing as a 401 unauthorized. Let's remove this and let's execute it. So now it shows the response status as 200, and in the response body we got the access token and also the refresh token and the expire in the time frame, that is the default time frame of identity. So that is showing. So you remember that in the custom authentication or authorization we need to have create the bearer token or JWT token to create the access token, right? But here in the default, so identity have provided the access token so to use in the any API. So if you go our API, still you can see that we can got the result without any hesitation, means without any passing any authorization or something. So let's say that how we can authorize this API, so that whenever we execute this, so we should have authorized with the bearer token, then it should work. So to access the authorization in the Swagger, so we need to make some changes. So go your applications, so go to your controller, and this is the get method that is calling on the Swagger. So here we need to have add one attribute name as authorized. So result this. So now this weather forecast API is enabled authorized. So once we pass the bearer token, then only it will got the result, otherwise it is not. So to do that the authorization from Swagger, so we need to move to the program.cs file. So here in the Swagger we need to add the options so that so here we have added the Open API security scheme to authorize the Swagger, and this package is missing, so let's install it again. Security requirement operations. So this package is missing, like install package swashbuckle sp.net code.filter. Let's install it. So it is installing directly from the NuGet. So let's wait for a moment. So now the Swagger authentication has been ready. So let's run this application and see again. So now we can see that in the Swagger, so here is authorized button is come here. So earlier it was not. So instead of doing anything, if we go to our API and let's run it again and see that how the data is come or not. So now we can see that the error is showing as response status 401. Why it is that? Because we have added in the controller, we have added the authorized. So that means it should first authorized with the token, then only it will got the access for us, otherwise it is not. So let's see that how we can authorized into that and we'll got the result. So to do that authorize, so if you click it, you can see that it need the value. So first we need to have login and we'll collect that the access token value, then we'll go for the authorization. So now you can see that the access token is come here. So let's copy this and click on authorize, and here we need to type as bearer, then paste this and click on authorize. So now we can see that the authorize is success, and if you want, then we can also log out. So not we don't want to log out it, so let's just close it and go to your API again and hit the execute. So now we can see that the 200 status as success. That means once we pass the authorization token, then the API is got success and we can see the response. So if we go for the authorize again and let's if we log out here and let's come to this API and run it again. Now you can see that the 401 error is come. So like this way, if we pass the bearer tokens and authorize it, then only the API would be work, otherwise the API will be throw as 401 unauthorized. So this is the basic fundamental of identity about the register and login, and for others we'll create another video where we'll discuss of everything. So on the next part of this video, let's understand that how the cookie authentication has been worked. So cookie authentication is a method that is used to maintain the user authentications in a web application. So it works by creating an authentication ticket which is stored on the cookie on the client browser, and it contains the information about the user such as their identity, roles, and it is encrypted and signed to prevent tampering. So let's see that how we can test with the cookie authentications. So to do that, let's first authorize this Swagger and we'll check it. So let's copy this access token and authorized it. And let's inspect it. So let's execute it and see the result is come or not. So you can see that the 200 result is there, and if we go for these applications and inside the cookies, so you can see that inside the cookies, so nothing is there. So let's see that how the cookie authentication is work. So to do this, let's come here in the login, and here we make us use cookies as true, and let's execute it. And if we can go to this API and run it again, So now you can see that one cookie is come here, ASP.NET Core Identity Applications, and this value. So the value is in the encrypted format, so we can't see or anyone can be tampering it. But still we have the authorization, so just log out it. So in the authorized we have log out. So let's see that if it is work or not. Let's click on execute again. We can see that it is getting 200 success, and without the authorized, so it is working. If we can delete it, go for this API weather forecast, and if we execute it, then we can see the response status as 401. So if you can check again, so in the login I have used cookies as true and just execute it. I don't copy any access token. Once I execute, and you can see that the cookie has been created into the browser. And if we go for this API, and earlier it was 401 unauthorized, and whenever we click the execute, we can see the response status the 200. So there is two way we can authorize with the identity framework. So one way is about the beer token in the authorized, that way I've seen, and another way is about the cookies. So here the cookies, so here we have set as cookies as true. So once we set as true, then what the token, so the token has been stored inside the cookie, and whenever we run this API, so it will collect the session from this cookie, and then we got the 200 status result. So the bonus part of this video, so let's see that how we can test this auth identity API into the Postman. So here you can see that there is a multiple post and get method is there. So let's see that how we can quickly is added this API into the Postman collections, and we'll test there. So to do that, just copy this path and go to your Postman and click on import, and just paste this URL. So it is reading from the Swagger, and the Postman collection is named as auth identity.api. So let it this name and click on import. It is importing the auth identity.api. Once it imported, so it will come here, you can see that. So now you can see that whatever is in the Swagger, so that is come here, so we can test it easily. So if you go for the login, you can see that the method is there and header, and inside the body, so the default body also is there, like the email, password and everything. So let's test it, but you can see that the base URL is not set. So to do that, so let's go to your Swagger again and just copy this http localhost 7267 for me as the base URL, and just click here on the API auth identity, and inside the variables the base URL, so let's, instead of blank, so I am added this and just save it and go to the, let's go to the weather forecast and see that how it work or not. So if the URL is coming or not, so let's click on send. So you can see that it is working, like the 401 unauthorized is showing, but it called the base URL. So let's go to the post login, and we'll create a access token and we'll pass there and see that how it is work. So let's put my email ID, instead of boolean, so I just make as a false and here as false. Either we will pass the false or true, so accordingly we will do that, and just email and password, and I can see that the access token is come here. So let's just copy this and go to weather forecast, and in the authorizations let's choose as wearer token and just add as a token, then click on send. Now you can see that the 200 success message is there, so everything is working perfectly. Also we can register here as well. If you can register other user, we can check it how it work. So go to the body section. Let's say email is xyz@gmail.com. Let's password as xyz@123#. Send it. You can see that 200 okay, and if you go for the database and we'll verify that whether the user is created or not, you can see that the xyz@gmail.com and the password is saved as a hash format. So let's see that in this user how we'll access this API. So currently this API we have passed the token, so just remove it and we'll see that. Then let's log in with that the xyz@gmail.com and we'll see the result. And here we need to pass as the value and click on send. Let's click on. So let's copy this and go to the get weather forecast and pass this token and send it. You can see that now the success with the other user as well. So let's see that how the cookies authentication we can verify through the postman. So we don't require to here, so just click on not and click on send. So you can see that the 41 unauthorized, so that's fine. Let's go to the login and we use cookies as true and click on send and go to the get weather forecast and click on login. Now you can see that we got the success passes, though our cookie we have set as true. So that's it for this starter video of the identity series. So we learned that how we register or how we log in to the identity using the ASP.NET Core applications, and also learn that how we can authenticate it with the Swagger and also the Postman. So in the upcoming video, we'll see that how the confirm email, forget password, reset password, manage, or how the user roles is work on the identity mechanism. Please share your thoughts if you have any questions or concerns. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.